I need to show you something that's going to mess with your head a little bit. Pull up a calculator, because we're about to break down why most people completely misunderstand how dividend investing actually works. So here's the setup. You invest $10,000 into a dividend stock yielding 4%. Simple math says you're making $400 a year, $4,800 over 12 years. Add in some modest share price growth and maybe you're at $15,000 total after 12 years. Sounds reasonable, right? Linear growth. Predictable. Boring, except that's not what actually happens. Not even close. If you do this right, that $10,000 doesn't become $15,000 in 12 years. It becomes $32,000. And by year 25, it's not $40,000 like linear math would predict. It's closer to $110,000. From the same $10,000 investment, same starting yield, same strategy. So what's the difference? The dividend snowball. And I'm going to explain it in a way that nobody else does because most people talking about this either don't understand it or they're deliberately making it sound more complicated than it is. Let me start with where everyone goes wrong. They think about dividends like this. You buy stock, stock pays you cash. You spend the cash or reinvest it. That's dividends. And sure, on the surface, that's accurate. But that's like saying a snowball rolling down a hill is just snow that's moving. Technically true, completely missing the point. The dividend snowball isn't about the dividends you collect. It's about what those dividends do while you're not paying attention. And this is where it gets beautiful. Here's how it actually works. You buy 100 shares of a dividend growth stock at $100 a share. 10,000 invested, stock yields 4%, so you're getting $4 per share annually, 400 total. Most people stop the math there. 400 a year, cool, but watch what happens next. That 400 buys you 4 more shares if you reinvest it. Now you own 104 shares. Next quarter, you're not earning dividends on 100 shares. You're earning on 104. Still seems minor, right? 4 extra shares, who cares? But now add in dividend growth. Most quality dividend companies raise their payout every year. Let's say this company raises dividends 6% annually. Pretty standard for dividend aristocrats. End of year 2, you're earning $4.24 per share, times your 108 shares now because you reinvested year 1's dividends. That's $458 in year 2. You just made $58 more than year 1, not from adding new money, not from share price going up, just from the compounding effect of reinvested dividends and dividend growth working together. Year 3, you're at $4.49 per share, times 113 shares. $508. By year 5, you're earning almost $650 annually from that original $10,000, and you haven't added a single dollar of new capital. That's the snowball forming, small at first, rolling slowly, but it's picking up mass with every rotation. Now here's where most explanations stop. They show you the math and say, isn't compounding amazing? And sure, it is, but they're not explaining what this actually means in practice. Let me show you the part that changed everything for me. I started my dividend portfolio with about $15,000, real money I'd saved up, nothing huge. I was investing about $500 a month on top of that. For the first 3 years, I felt like I was getting nowhere. My dividends would come in, $50, $75. $83, numbers that felt almost insulting compared to the money I was putting in. I remember thinking this is stupid. I'm investing $6,000 a year and getting back maybe $800 in dividends. That's a 13% return on my annual contributions. My high-yield savings account almost beats that, but I kept going because I'd read enough to know the snowball takes time to build. And somewhere around year 4, I started noticing something weird. My dividend payments were going up faster than I was adding money. I'd get a payment in Q1 that was $112, then Q2 would be $131, not because I'd added a ton of money, because the snowball was starting to roll on its own. By year 6, my quarterly dividends were exceeding my monthly contributions. I was putting in $500 a month, but my dividends were bringing in $600 a quarter, $1,800 over 3 months. The snowball wasn't just rolling anymore, it was accelerating. And that's when I finally understood what dividend growth investors mean when they talk about passive income. Because here's the thing nobody explains properly. The snowball doesn't just grow, it grows faster every year, exponentially, not linearly. This is what breaks people's brains. We're wired to think linearly. If I save $500 a month in a year, I'll have $6,000. Simple math, predictable. But the dividend snowball doesn't work that way. It's exponential, which means the growth rate increases over time. Let me show you what I mean with real numbers from my own portfolio. Years 1 through 3, my dividend income grew from about $600 annually to about $1,600. $1,000 increase over 3 years seemed slow. Years 4 through 6, it grew from 1,600 to about 4,200. That's $2,600 of growth in the same 3-year period, more than double the previous growth rate. Years 7 through 9, it went from 4,200 to about 8,900, $4,700 of growth. The rate nearly doubled again. Same strategy, same monthly contributions, but the snowball was picking up so much momentum that the growth rate kept accelerating. And here's what's wild. I'm in year 11 now. My annual dividend income is sitting at about $14,000. Last year alone, it grew by almost $3,000. That's more growth in 1 year than I saw in my first 4 years combined, from the exact same strategy. That's the dividend snowball. And this is why people who start early and stick with it end up with absurd amounts of passive income, not because they're investing massive amounts, because they gave the snowball time to build unstoppable momentum. Now let me break down the mechanics of why this works so well. Because there are 3 forces working together that most people treat as separate things. Force 1 is reinvestment. Every dividend buys more shares. More shares generate more dividends. This is basic compounding. Everyone gets this part. Force 2 is dividend growth. The companies you own keep raising their dividends. So even if you never bought another share, your income would grow. Most people understand this too. But force 3 is the one people miss: share price appreciation. When you reinvest dividends, you're buying more shares. If those shares appreciate in value, you're not just earning more dividends. You're also increasing the base value that's generating your yield. Let me make this concrete. Say you bought a stock at $100 yielding 4%. That's $4 per share annually. 5 years later, that stock is worth $140. Your original shares have appreciated 40%. Nice, but you've also been reinvesting dividends and buying more shares the entire time. Some of those shares you bought at 105, some at 95 when there was a dip, some at 120, some at 115. Your average cost per share is maybe 108, but now all those shares are worth 140. You've got appreciation gains on every reinvested dividend you've collected over 5 years, so you're not just compounding dividends. You're compounding dividend growth and share price appreciation and reinvestment all at the same time. That's 3 exponential forces multiplying each other. That's why the math gets so crazy over long periods. Here's a real example from my portfolio. I bought Realty Income, the monthly dividend company, back in 2015 at about $57 a share. It was yielding around 4.6% at the time. I invested $5,000 initially, got about 87 shares. Monthly dividend was about $21, $250 annually, whatever. But I reinvested every single dividend, and Realty Income raises their dividend every year like clockwork. Fast forward to now. That position is worth about $14,000 in share value. My yield on cost is over 7% because of dividend growth. And I own about 180 shares now from reinvestment. My monthly dividend from that original $5,000 investment, $83, almost $1,000 a year, from $5,000 invested 9 years ago. I didn't add money to that position after the initial investment. The entire growth came from the snowball. Share price went up, dividends grew, reinvestment compounded. 3 forces working together created 4 times the income I started with. And here's the part that makes me laugh. If I had tried to trade that stock to capture gains, I probably would have sold it at $70 thinking I'd made a nice profit. Would have missed the entire run to where it is now plus all the dividend growth. The snowball only works if you don't mess with it. You have to let it roll. Now let me address the thing everyone asks. How long until the snowball really takes off? I hate to say it, but the answer is longer than you want. The first 5 years kind of suck. You're building the base, collecting small dividends, reinvesting them into a handful of new shares. It feels like you're getting nowhere. Years 5 through 10, you start seeing it. The payments get noticeably larger. The growth accelerates. You're not rich yet, but you can feel the momentum building. Years 10 through 15, it's undeniable. Your dividend income is growing by thousands annually. The snowball has real mass now. It's generating its own gravity. Past 15 years, it's almost absurd. Your dividend income might be growing by more each year than you're able to contribute. The snowball is bigger than your shovel at that point. This is why dividend investing is a young person's game, not because old people can't do it, but because the real magic happens in decades 2 and 3. Starting at 25 versus 35 is the difference between retiring wealthy or working until 70. Let me show you something that'll drive this home. 2 investors. Both invest $500 a month into dividend growth stocks. Investor A starts at 25, invests until 65, 40 years. Investor B starts at 35, invests until 65, 30 years. Both put in the same 500 monthly. Both get the same returns, same dividend yield, same dividend growth. Investor A ends up with about 2.1 million, generating roughly 90,000 in annual dividend income. Investor B ends up with about 800,000, generating roughly 34,000 in annual dividend income. Investor A put in 60,000 more total capital over the extra 10 years, but ended up with over 1.3 million more and 56,000 more in annual income. That difference isn't from the extra contributions. It's from 10 extra years of snowball momentum. The exponential growth in those final years created more wealth than all the contributions combined. That's the power nobody explains properly. The snowball doesn't just grow big, it grows bigger faster the longer you let it roll. Here's what this looks like in practical terms. I track my dividend income monthly, have for years, and I can see the acceleration in real time. In 2019, my dividend income grew by about $700 for the year. In 2021, it grew by about $1,300. In 2023, it grew by about $2,800. Last year, it grew by about $4,100. This year, it's on pace to grow by almost $6,000. Same strategy every year, but the growth rate is accelerating because the snowball has momentum now. At this pace, in 3 more years, my dividend income will be growing by $10,000 annually, just from the compounding effect, not from me adding new money. That's when it becomes obvious that you're going to win. When the snowball's annual growth exceeds your annual contributions, you know it's inevitable, just a matter of time. Now let me talk about the mistake that kills the snowball for most people. They take the dividends as cash. I get it, you're earning $300 a month in dividends. That's grocery money. That's a car payment. Why not use it? Because using it stops the snowball completely. Every dollar you take as cash is a dollar that doesn't buy more shares, which means it's not generating more dividends, which means it's not buying more shares next quarter. The compounding chain breaks. If you need income now, fine. Dividend investing might not be your strategy yet. Build your nest egg first. But if you don't need the money, for the love of everything holy, reinvest it automatically. Don't even give yourself the option to spend it. That discipline in the early years is worth hundreds of thousands in the later years. I didn't touch a single dividend for the first 8 years. Reinvested everything automatically. Pretended the money didn't exist. Year 9, I started taking about 30% as spending money. The snowball was big enough that it didn't matter. Now I take about half and reinvest half. The snowball still grows because it's massive enough that even half the dividends generate serious momentum. But if I had been taking dividends in years 1 through 8, I'd probably be 5 years behind where I am now. That early compounding is irreplaceable. Here's my challenge to you. Pick one dividend growth stock. Doesn't matter which one as long as it has a history of raising dividends. Invest $1,000, set dividends to reinvest automatically, then don't touch it for 3 years. Check it once a year, just to see the progress, but don't trade it, don't sell it. Don't take the dividends. After 3 years, look at your share count. Look at your dividend income. Look at your yield on cost. You'll see the snowball forming. It won't be big yet, but you'll see it growing. And that's when you'll understand why people who get this strategy become obsessed with it. Because it's the closest thing to guaranteed wealth building that exists. It's not fast, it's not exciting, but it's reliable. The snowball always grows. As long as you don't stop it, companies keep paying dividends. They keep raising them, your shares keep multiplying, the income keeps compounding. It's inevitable, mathematical, certain. That certainty is rare in investing. Most strategies depend on timing, on skill, on luck. The dividend snowball just depends on time and patience, and not messing with it. Give it 10 years. You'll have more passive income than you think possible. Give it 20 years. You'll have more than most people earn from their jobs. Give it 30 years. You'll be wealthy, not because you were smart or lucky, because you understood the snowball and let it roll. Start today. Start small if you have to, but start, because the snowball doesn't care how much money you have. It only cares how much time you give it, and time is the one thing you can't buy more of later.